What if I told you the real reason behind most cases of erectile dysfunction in men over 60 isn't aging at all? It's something much more silent, something slowly cutting off the lifeblood of your manhood, literally, and most doctors never mention it. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman, MD. Over the past 30 years, I've helped thousands of men rediscover their strength, vitality, and connection, not through pills or surgery, but through a deeper understanding of their bodies and what they truly need. What I'm about to share may challenge what you've believed for decades. Let me start with George, a 67-year-old retired carpenter from Indiana. George came to my clinic with a heavy heart. "Doc," he said, "I feel like I'm disappearing down there. I'm still attracted to my wife. I want to be close, but it's like nothing responds." George still had desire. The fire wasn't gone. But the circulation, that was a different story. You see, after age 60, your smallest blood vessels, the microvessels feeding the penis, prostate, and lower abdomen begin to harden. Not overnight. Slowly. Silently. You don't feel it happening. You don't see it. But one day, you wake up, and that morning wood you used to take for granted, gone. The warmth, the sensitivity, the responsiveness, it starts fading, little by little. And yet, most men still carry the spark. What they don't have anymore is the flow. Blood can't reach where it needs to go. Why, years of inflammation, stress, sitting, a lack of circulation. It clogs up the pelvic region like rust in old plumbing. It's not your fault. Nobody told you, but I'm telling you now, and here's the hope it can be reversed. The first step, recognizing that you're not broken, you're blocked, and what's blocked can be unblocked. Let me take you back to the first time I revisited an old-school remedy that changed everything: castor oil. Now, if you're like most of my patients, you might think of castor oil as that sticky stuff your grandmother used for constipation. I used to think the same. In medical school, we barely gave it a second thought. But when I began hearing older men describe symptoms like numbness, lack of sensitivity, and that dull, lifeless sensation down there, I knew I had to dig deeper. That's when I met Thomas, 74, a retired postal worker from North Carolina. He hadn't felt anything in his lower body for over 18 months. It's like a switch flipped off. He told me, "We didn't go down the route of prescriptions. We didn't need to. Instead, we started simple warm castor oil, gently massaged into his lower abdomen and inner thighs, 3 times a week. Within 2 weeks, Thomas came back, eyes wide. "Doc," he said, "I don't know what's happening, but I'm waking up with warmth. That's not magic. That's flow returning." See, castor oil isn't like other oils. It penetrates deeply past skin, into the tissue, reaching nerves, blood vessels, and the lymphatic system. And that's key. Because when the pelvic region gets sluggish, circulation slows, and toxins build up like traffic during rush hour. But with castor oil, things begin to move again. Warmth returns, sensation follows, and with consistency, men begin to feel alive again. But I'll be honest, castor oil alone isn't enough. It's powerful, yes, but it needs a partner. Something that not only goes deep, but also softens, opens, and clears the path. And that partner, you've smelled it your whole life. It's the sharp, grounding scent of pine. The first time I introduced pine essential oil into my clinic, I honestly didn't expect much. It smelled like a hike through the Colorado Rockies, earthy, crisp, familiar. Not the kind of thing you associate with healing male performance. But I've learned over decades, nature surprises you. That day, I had a patient named Bruce, age 68, an old Navy veteran who kept himself in shape. Still, he struggled with something he couldn't explain, a cold, unresponsive feeling in his lower body. No medication had worked. No test showed anything wrong. But the spark was gone. We began a simple routine. Just a teaspoon of organic castor oil, mixed with 2 drops of pine essential oil, rubbed into his lower abdomen, his thighs, and the soft space between his scrotum and anus known as the perineum. I told him, Bruce, this isn't about force. It's about inviting your body to wake back up. What happened next blew us both away within days. Bruce reported warmth where there had been cold, sensation where there had been nothing, and a quiet confidence beginning to return. You see, pine oil is mildly alkaline, meaning it breaks down the acidic inflammation that hardens microvessels with age. It softens deep tissues, the very ones that lose flexibility over decades of stress, sitting, shallow breathing, and emotional shutdown. When combined with castor oil, this duo acts like a biological defroster, melting away years of stagnation. But here's the real power. It's not just the blend itself, but how and where you apply it that makes the biggest difference. Because once those vessels start to soften, once the tissue begins to open up again, you've created the perfect moment for blood to return. And that brings us to the next chapter, the art of touch, of reconnecting with your own body in a way that most men haven't done in decades. Most men think rubbing oil is just, well, rubbing oil. But I'm here to tell you, intention changes everything. What you do with your hands, where you touch, how you breathe, it speaks volumes to your body, especially after 60, when sensation fades and confidence slips through your fingers like sand. Let me share the story of Daniel, a 73-year-old former woodworker from Ohio. He came to me saying, Doc, I don't even know what to feel anymore. It's like my body shut the door and threw away the key. But what he didn't realize, the key wasn't lost. It was simply waiting for the right signal. We started small. 1 teaspoon of warm organic castor oil, 3 drops of pine essential oil. He warmed it in his hands, took a deep breath, and began to apply it slowly, lower abdomen, inner thighs, and finally, the perineum. I told him, don't rush, don't force. This isn't mechanics, it's communication. With circular motions, gentle pressure, and a towel warmed in the microwave. Daniel took 10 minutes each evening, not just to apply oil, but to reconnect with his own body. Within a week, he wasn't just sleeping better. He said he felt something flicker to life. Doc, I didn't know. I missed this feeling so much, this presence. You see, his circulation was returning. But more than that, his sense of ownership was coming back. And this is why I say this ritual is not about fixing what's broken. It's about remembering what's always been there. You're not lost. You're just quiet. And this blend, this touch, this moment is how you start turning the volume back up. But we're not done yet. Now that your body's beginning to respond, let's unlock something even deeper pressure points that have guided healing for centuries, and that modern science is finally beginning to understand. When Daniel told me, I feel something flickering back to life, I knew it was time to show him what I believe to be one of the most overlooked forms of healing acupressure. Most people hear that word and think of spa treatments or ancient practices that feel too mystical for modern men. But let me tell you, after 30 years in medicine, I've seen firsthand how acupressure bridges the mind and body in ways that nothing else does. Especially for men over 60 who are looking to reconnect not just with blood flow, but with a sense of power, calm, and clarity they thought they had lost. There are 3 points I teach every patient: inner wrist, just 2 fingers below the palm. Pressing here calms the heart, steadies anxiety, and opens the emotional door. Inner thigh, midway between the groin and knee. It stimulates circulation right at the core, feeding life back into the pelvic region, top of the foot between the big toe and second toe. It balances hormones and relieves tension that builds up deep inside. Daniel started pressing these points for just 5 minutes every night after his oil ritual. At first, it felt odd to him. He'd never been the energy healing type. But something shifted. After 2 weeks, he looked different. His shoulders weren't slumped anymore. His gaze was more focused. His presence had returned. And I'll never forget what he told me, Doc. It's like my body finally remembers I'm here. That's the power of unlocking not just vessels, but the nervous system's buried doors. The ones that close with age, grief, or years of disconnect, but open again with intention, now that the body and mind are open. What we put inside matters more than ever. What you eat next could seal the progress or silently undo it all. Let me show you how to lock it in. I once had a patient named Carl, a retired Navy officer in his late 60s, disciplined, tough, and committed. He followed the castor oil and pine oil ritual to the letter. He practiced acupressure daily, even kept a small timer on his nightstand to remind him. But after 3 weeks, he looked at me and said, "Doc, I feel better, but it's like something's missing, that missing piece. Nutrition, especially what you eat immediately after the healing ritual. See, after you've opened up the vessels, softened the tissues, and reconnected with your body through touch and pressure, your system enters what I call a healing window, a quiet golden hour when your body is more receptive, more absorbent, more alive. And what you feed it during that time can either fuel your recovery or shut the doors right back down." Carl's usual post-ritual meal: a ham sandwich with chips and a soda. Harmless, right? But that combo of high sodium, processed meats, refined carbs, and sugary drinks was undoing his progress every single night. So we made a shift. Instead of soda, he drank 8 Ahs of beet juice to stimulate nitric oxide production, nature's way of opening blood vessels. Instead of chips, we swapped in a half avocado for healthy fats that support testosterone. A side of steamed spinach with olive oil and garlic helped relax the vascular system. And a square of 85% dark chocolate became his new reward, one that actually promotes pelvic blood flow. Within a week, Carl came back with a grin on his face. "Doc," he said, "I wake up feeling like a different man." Because food isn't just fuel, it's medicine or poison, especially after 60, when the margin for error is smaller, but the opportunity for impact is so much bigger. Now that the body is flowing and the system is nourished, there's just one final shift we need, one that can't be bought or eaten. It has to come from within. I remember sitting across from Leonard, a soft-spoken man in his early 70s, who had done everything right. He applied the oil. He practiced the acupressure. He changed his diet. But still, something was holding him back. And when I asked him what he felt deep down, he paused, took a breath, and whispered, "I just don't feel like a man anymore." That hit me hard, not because I hadn't heard it before, but because it's so common and so misunderstood. See, the final piece of real healing has nothing to do with oils or food. It's the mindset shift from shame to strength. It's reclaiming your identity. So many men over 60 silently carry grief, not just about aging, but about what they think aging means. They feel invisible, like their best years are behind them, like their masculinity has expired. But I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. Masculine vitality doesn't die with age. It waits beneath the surface until you believe you're still worthy of it. With Leonard, we didn't start with science that day. We stood in front of a mirror. I asked him to look at himself, not as someone broken, but as someone who's still here, a husband, a father, a man with stories etched into his skin and strength still left in his bones. That was the turning point. He started walking taller, laughing louder, saying yes to life again. And yes, his blood flow improved. But even more important, his confidence came back. Because no ritual works unless you believe you're worth healing. No technique sticks unless you see yourself as a man still capable of connection, passion, and presence. So ask yourself, right now, are you ready to come back to life? If so, the final piece of this journey will bring everything together: oils, pressure points, food, and mindset into one rhythm you can return to every single day. Because healing isn't a one-time fix, it's a practice. Every morning, I begin with the same quiet ritual, one that I've taught to hundreds of men who thought they were past their prime. It's simple, grounding, and powerful. And if you're still with me now, you're ready to try it too. This is where everything comes together. Start with 5 minutes of breath. Deep, belly-filled inhales. Slow, steady exhales. Let your nervous system settle. This isn't about forcing results. It's about showing up for yourself with presence. Then, take your pine castor blend, 1 teaspoon of organic castor oil, 2 drops of pine essential oil. Warm it gently. Let the scent fill the room. Let the warmth remind your body, you're safe now. Massage it in with intention. Lower abdomen, inner thighs, the perineum. Slow, circular motions. No rush, no shame. Just a man coming home to his body. Next, place a warm towel over the area. Close your eyes. Sit with the heat, the softness, the quiet return of sensation. Once you're done, it's time to nourish your body. A glass of beet juice, half an avocado, a handful of walnuts, food that keeps your blood vessels open and your hormones balanced. And before the day gets away from you, press 3 acupressure points. The wrist for calm, the inner thigh for blood flow, the foot for hormone balance. Just a few seconds each. Finally, take one last breath. Look in the mirror. Say it out loud. I'm still here because you are. This ritual isn't about fixing something broken. It's about honoring something sacred: your body, your vitality, your presence. As a man in this world, some days you'll feel the spark. Some days you won't. But every time you show up, you're casting a vote for the man you're becoming. This is your rhythm now. Not a miracle. Not a myth. Just the daily decision to care deeply, gently, intentionally. You've made it this far. And if no one has told you today, I'm proud of you. If you're still here, still reading, still feeling, I want to take a moment and truly honor you. Because this journey isn't easy. Not for most men. Not in a culture that teaches us to tough it out. Keep it quiet and pretend everything's fine even when it isn't. But you didn't do that. You chose to listen. You chose to learn. You chose to show up for your body, not with frustration or shame, but with curiosity, intention, and care. I've spent over 3 decades as a doctor, but more importantly, as a witness. I've seen men come into my office lost, numb, tired, disconnected from their own skin. And I've seen those same men walk out days, weeks, months later with light in their eyes, strength in their step, and a sense of pride that's hard to describe. That transformation doesn't come from a pill. It doesn't come from some overnight fix. It comes from small choices repeated consistently with heart, like massaging warm oils, breathing deeply, choosing the right foods, pressing ancient points on the body, and most of all, shifting the story in your mind from "I'm too old" to "I'm just getting started." You see, healing isn't about going back to the man you used to be. It's about becoming the man you were always meant to be: grounded, present, powerful in a way that doesn't need to prove anything. So, as you move forward, take this with you. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are alive. And that is more than enough. Keep going. Your next chapter starts today.